Well, what a twist. Apparently, K in this timeline was actually a.k.a. instead of whoever that guy is, that Sigma clone of some sort.
June! I mean, Akane, from... But you're old.
Yes, that's correct. I haven't spoken to you in a very long time, Clover. Or you, Junpei.
Junpei?
Akane. Long time no see.
I could barely hear what they were saying. My mind was still reading. Felt like all the air had been knocked out of me. And it was all I could do to not collapse right then and there.
When? How long?
Do you remember when the two of you saved me in the warehouse? Once you saved me, you went back to your future. Well, your minds did, at least. I carried your bodies to the 3rd AB room, and then took Dio's to the 5th. After that, I went into the 1st room and borrowed K's armor.
So by the time you and Clover came out, you'd already...
Yes.
Wait. That doesn't make any sense. Dio killed you. And then Luna took your body to the 6th room. You couldn't have been in K's armor.
No, it was me. In this timeline, at least. In this one, I wasn't murdered by Dio. You two saved me. It's just like Schrodinger's cat. Your actions in the future decided who would be inside the armor in the past.
What? No, that's nuts. I mean, come on, Sigma, you... Try to remember. You really did this stuff.
Alright, what about the other history? The one where you weren't saved. What happens then? Who's wearing the armor?
That's quite simple. The man in front of you.
Him?
That's correct. Whenever I'm not in the armor, he is.
What about the memory loss?
For my part, I confess that I lied. He, on the other hand, was telling the truth.
Hmm?
Large doses of soporil can cause memory loss. I gave him a rather large dose.
So, who is he?
You've never seen him before?
No.
What do you mean you've never... I mean, that's Sigma right over there. Aren't you more interested in the fact that we have like 2 Sigmas in the same place?
What about the rest of you?
I have no idea who he is.
I've never seen him before.
Eh?
Me either. Total stranger.
Hey, come on. What are you guys saying? Right here? Same face?
Huh? Huh?
Are you all right, Mr. Sigma? Did you hit your head or something?
Huh? What? It didn't make any sense. Why didn't they recognize me?
Sigma, your consciousness can jump through time. You can inhabit your body in the past or in the future.
What does that mean?
Don't you get it? You've jumped to the future. From 45 years ago.
I looked around frantically. A pond. I ran to it and threw myself down onto my knees. Crawling on all fours, I approached the edge. It was hammering inside my chest. Cold sweat trickled down my spine. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down, damn it. I struggled to take deep breaths. Then slowly, I peered into the pond, looking for my reflection. What? What? Yeah, who? What? What? Why? When? What? Did we jump into so many timelines? Sigma started to get old each time. Before you mean to tell me that for like 1 hour or so, I didn't notice that Sigma looked different? Damn you, first-person perspective limitations! Oh, this can't be real. This face.
It's your face, Dr. Sigma Climb. Although, to the you that's behind it now, it's your face 45 years from now. Zero, the mastermind of the AB project.
Oh! Mind blown. What?
Is you.
What? No, that's not possible. That's bullshit.
No. It's the truth. Fighting it isn't going to do you any good. Please, Doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
You will be. A pioneer in the field of genetic engineering.
You're lying.
No, I'm not. You created him. Well, I suppose I should say you are going to create him.
Create?
His name is Kyle Climb. Your clone. That is why he looks just like a younger version of yourself. 23 years ago, in the biolab here in Rhizome 9, you created Kyle. Well, I suppose for you, that's still in the future. When I said I was born and raised here, I was still pretending to be him. The gravity here is only 1/6 of Earth's. If nothing was done, the reduced gravity would cause his bones to be weaker than normal human ones. But you prepared for that. You gave him that armor. Ever since he was born, he's lived inside of it.
So the reason why Kyle Klim wore that armor was because of the gravity. Because if he didn't wear it, then his bones would become weaker and weaker. So he had to counterbalance that with the weight of that huge armor.
It kept his muscles and bones strong. He wasn't forced into it for the Nonary Game.
Huh. I guess so.
He's been wearing it every day, all his life.
The Dragon Ball Z training. But why would future me create a clone?
He was to be your spare. If something happened to you before the project began, he would take your place. I mentioned before that the AB projects A and B stood for after and before. That isn't all they mean, though. The A also means anima, and the B means body. Anima is another word for the soul or the consciousness. Body is, well, exactly what it says on the tin. The past consciousness will go into the future body, and the future consciousness will go into the past body. They switch. That was the chief goal of the project.
Wait, so the future person goes into a past person?
Sigma, do you remember the note you found in the garden?
You mean this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was pretty damn curious about this as well. It says Rhizome 9 in Nevada test site, but I still don't know what the heck this means.
Ah, of course, it was you who investigated the garden in this timeline. Yeah. Sigma, take a good look at this. It's an illustration of the time jumps your consciousness is making.
An illustration of the time jumps? Well, what the heck does this mean, though?
A is where everything began. December 25th, 2028. You inhaled the white smoke in your car and lost consciousness. From there, you jumped to B. January 25th, 2074. You woke up in one of the AB rooms in Rhizome 9. You are in your own body, but it is 67 years old. Your consciousness has jumped 45 years into the future. I believe that may explain why you didn't notice the reduced lunar gravity. The body you woke up in was much older. Normally, you would have noticed that your muscles were much weaker.
Yeah, that's true. Since we are on the moon, we would have noticed it, but I guess Sigma's body was already used to the moon's gravity in that way, but... So wait, I guess that means that we never noticed that Sigma looked that old all this time? Well, I guess so. Wow. This is actually quite insane. This is quite mind-blowing. You're telling me that all this time, Sigma looked this way instead of his younger self. And I never even seen his face up until now. In this Nonary game. If that's the case, if he was looking like this all this time. I never even seen his face in this Nonary game, did I? Wow.
In this case, however, the lower gravity balanced that out.
I mean, is this true, or is there more to it that the more we... that wouldn't even make sense with what a.k.a. just said. This really is Sigma's old self, in which case he always looked like this in this Nonary game. Wow. That's actually quite insane.
Moving on. If you continue along this line, what happens next?
Oh my god, don't... Okay, so... Sigma was this old all this time. You would think that, okay, we don't really see his face because of the first-person visual novel perspective, like the old times, where we don't see the protagonist's face. But we never even heard his voice up until now. That's why Sigma was not voiced in this. Because if he was voiced, then he would sound like an old man at this point, not like an old, like a teenager or young adult. He would have sounded like an old man at this point. And they did not want this to happen. They did not want a voice actor for Sigma in this case, because it would blow out the surprise of us finding out that he was old all this time, like right over here. In Nonary Game 999, Junpei was voiced, but in this he wasn't. I guess that's why. Wow. Bravo, game. Bravo. That's quite amazing. The most amazing thing that I've seen in a while. Wow.
You reach C, which is January 27th, 2074.
Sometimes I was thinking, why isn't Sigma like the protagonist voice in this, since like in comparison to the first game. That always felt odd to me, and like at first I was asking this, but after a while I didn't even question it anymore. And now I found out. Now I find out why. So C, January 27, 2074.
That is today.
Whoa. Wait, what do you mean? Are you saying it's been 2 days since we woke up?
36 hours to be exact.
36 hours?
Have you already forgotten? You were all infected with Radical 6. The virus slowed your brain down. So yes, 36 hours of real time have passed.
Oh my goodness gracious, you. So basically what you're saying is that the timer on the bracelet wasn't even the real time, but rather a more modified time that would act like a normal real time to us, infected with Radical 6, to make it look like it was real time, but in actuality it was slowed down? Or sped up? Either way, it was modified. This Nonary game was like, how many hours up until now? Probably not more than 10 hours at this point, but in actuality it was more than that. Actually, no, wait, hold on a second. Maybe it's the 6th. 6 hours have passed? Nah.
But to you, it only seemed like 14 hours and 40 minutes.
14 hours, okay.
Now comes the important part. After this, your consciousness will return to the past. It will re-emerge at point D.
Point D.
April 13th, 2029.
The day the annihilation centers exploded throughout the entire world. All 18 of them.
You will return to your younger body.
But that's the same day as the reactor explosions.
Yes. That is why I said it will be too late. You will return to the past, but the events you would want to prevent will have already happened.
Wait, in which case, let me ask you this. Why can't we send the consciousness before the event happened? Like, are you saying that there is no way to prevent whatever happened back then? And the only way is for you to send us after the event happened? And from there on, I guess, try to prepare Sigma for this AB project to happen so that his consciousness will go back in time, so that you would send him back to that point where the annihilation reactors would explode once more and then repeat the same cycle? Like, for what reason? What would be the point in that case?
The story does not end there, however. The line continues. After reaching point D, you will eventually return to B.
Yeah, that's true.
But this time, you won't be jumping through time, or at least not at a rate faster than normal.
Yeah, more like you would have to wait like 45 years or so until point B.
Your consciousness will spend 45 years inhabiting the same body until you reach point B. Do you remember when B is, Sigma?
January 25th, 2074. According to what you just told us, it's 36 hours ago.
Correct. That was when the consciousness of the 22-year-old Sigma jumped into the body of 67-year-old Sigma. So where did the older version of you go when you took his body?
45 years ago? Point A. December 25th, 2028. The day all this started.
Yes. His consciousness will go back in time 45 years.
Wait, so are you saying that this is more about switching consciousness between 2 points?
For a period of time, he will inhabit your younger body. While your younger consciousness is elsewhere, he will be you in the past.
I see, so older Sigma would go back to point A and then prevent whatever happens. So that none of this would well, I guess that's why there's point E there. But once that body reaches point D, my 22-year-old consciousness will come back from point C.
That's correct. When that happens, the older version of you will be ejected from your younger body and return to your body at C.
So you're saying that once older Sigma goes from point A and reaches point D, that will be the time limit, in which case he failed to do whatever he had to do to prevent all this that happened, to prevent Radical 6. Is that it? So it's rotating?
Rotating. I suppose you could put it that way. But look at this illustration closely. What if you take all these lines and untangle them? You get one single line. It may look complicated, but in truth, it's a single straight path.
Yeah, like what? Why did he even make this illustration like this way, instead of just making it like one line? It's just 5 points in like one timeline of some sorts. Like, why did he make it so tangled like this?
With one exception.
This line here at point E, right?
Exactly. Point E is December 31st, 2028, the day of the total eclipse.
The day Radical 6 got out of the test facility.
Yes. By now, you've likely figured it out on your own. The purpose of the AB project was to get the consciousness of the 67-year-old Sigma from point B to point A. If we can do that, we can change what happened 45 years ago.
And then, in which case, change whatever happened at point E. And that way, Radical 6 would never have happened in the first place, in which case we would go a totally separate timeline. Shown like right over here with this other arrow to the right. Is that it? So the old version of me will keep Radical 6 from getting out by jumping into my 22-year-old body on New Year's Eve, 2028?
Yes. That is why this line could not be interrupted.
Okay, so I was wrong before. He only has like 6 days to prevent Radical 6 from happening, from point A to point E, here, right over here. From 25th, December 25th to 31st December 2028.
In order for the 67-year-old version of you to reach point B, we first have to go through point D. In order to get to point D, we must jump from point C. And for point C to happen, we had to recreate everything that happened in this facility. That is why we have faithfully retraced history up to this point, so that we might save humankind from destruction and undo the horrors of the last 45 years.
That's insane. Tell me one thing.
What is that?
You said that point C is January 27, 2074, which is today. There's going to be a jump, and I'll jump to April 30th. April 13th, 2029.
Yes, that's right.
But, look, I'm still old. When is this jump supposed to happen?
Very soon.
Soon? Like when?
Yes.
What's going to trigger it?
We need potential energy stored to send your consciousness into the 4th dimension. Fortunately, we now have plenty of that. Thanks, ironically, to Radical 6. All that remains is to launch your consciousness. Like a bullet from a slingshot.
And how do you propose to do that? And can I ask you this? Now we know what Sigma's role in this is. I mean, from what I'm getting, Sigma's role in this is quite huge. Like, you need Sigma in order to do this and prevent Radical 6. But what about Phi? She also has this time jumping powers for some reason. What is her role in all this? Why are you forcing her to do this as well? Who is she?
Didn't I tell you? A crisis. A moment balanced between life and death. That can jumpstart your brain.
What do you mean?
You haven't figured it out. I mean this.
Yeah? Kane? Dio's knife? No sooner were the words out of my mouth. Phi! I screamed and leapt toward them. Akane was already in motion, the knife diving toward Phi's chest. I was almost there. When I regained consciousness, I was on the floor. There was a dull pain in my chest. I felt for a cut, but something was in the way. It took me a moment to realize that it was Akane's body, lying on top of me. I twisted my neck to look around. Nearby was an old tombstone. On it was written a few words in Latin. To fui, ego eris. What you are, I was. What I am, you will be.
Today is April 13th, 2029, and this is the evening news. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't have any news to read. All of our station's reporters have passed after contracting Radical 6. So have my... Excuse me. I've managed to keep us on the air until now. But I'm out of tricks. It's time for me to sign off. This concludes our broadcast day. I pray that someday, our world can be cleansed of this horrible plague. Goodbye.
For a moment, I just stared at the TV. The roar of the static seemed to fill the entire room. Until with a click, it disappeared too. Had the power gone out? I heard footsteps from behind me, and turned around. You! Akane? Oh. Hello there.
It looks like the first step was successful.
What the fuck? You killed me!
Killed?
I guess technically you're going to kill me 45 years from now, but still!
Hey, no need to be rude about it. I didn't kill you. I hit you with the butt of the knife. You're fine.
What? I'm okay.
Yes. You and Phi needed to experience a state of crisis. That was the only way.
Me and Phi?
Yes. I only told you about you, but we also needed Phi to jump. Now, you know what happens next, right?
We go to the moon?
Correct. We will be leaving tomorrow, April 14th, 2029. We've nearly finished preparing your shuttle. Only a few last-minute checks and additions. You'll be traveling to Rhizome 9, along with 3 treatment pods.
And I guess those are Clover, Alice, and Phi. Alice and Clover, right?
Yes.
What about the third one? Who's in there?
Phi. We put her into cold sleep 2 days ago. She appeared at our headquarters and volunteered to be frozen. That wasn't the Phi who jumped from Point C, though.
What?
It was Phi before she jumped from Point A to Point D.
Phi before she jumped from point A to D?
In other words, she was following the same path you are. And she still is.
And that means that after you froze her, the point C version of her jumped back into her body?
Yes. The Point C version of Phi is sleeping in that pod. She'll stay there for the next 45 years. Sleeping in ice.
Then when she gets to point B, her consciousness will jump to point A, right?
Correct.
Huh. So that's why she didn't look old. So why did it just stick me in one of those pods?
We can't do that.
Why not?
You haven't figured it out? You have to spend the next 45 years working on the AB project. After arriving at Rhizome 9, you must master genetic engineering and artificial intelligence programming, among other disciplines. Otherwise, you will be unable to create Kyle, Luna, and Lagomorph.
And that's why he was so old.
And, of course, you will need to develop the chromatic doors and the bracelets. You will also be the person who summons Tenmyouji and Quark. Once you've completed all the preparations, then the project can actually begin. January 25th, 2074. You will defrost Phi and carry her to the third AB room. Once you've done that, the 22-year-old version of you from point A will force you out. And you'll just go back 45 years to your own body on December 25th, 2028.
And then I change history. You really think I can keep the virus from getting out?
You have to. If you don't, billions of people will die.
I do have to ask this, Akane. Why Sigma? Why Sigma and Phi? Why were they chosen for this? What made them so special? Is it because you found out that they were the ones with the most potential in time jumping? I guess that would be a reason, but still.
Only you and Phi can save them.
What about you? Aren't you an Esper too? I mean, technically, you Akane are one of the most powerful people out there. You can see like everything. Every single timeline, everything. So...
I can't do anything on my own. If this is going to work, I'll need your help.
What about Santa though? Where is he? So what do I need to do?
What do you mean?
Like, what specific actions do I need to take? When Phi and I jump to point A, what are we going to do then?
You'll both enter the Mars mission test site.
And after that...
I don't know.
What?
I'm sorry. I really don't know anything about what happens in there.
Nothing. You're telling me that you don't know what is going on out there on Mars, on the Mars test site. And you're an Esper as well, so,
We don't know how the Radical Six escaped. We don't even know why it was there in the first place.
Oh crap. We're screwed.
That's why we need your help. You have the ability to jump through time and across parallel worlds. We need you to figure out what happened in that test facility. Things will be difficult, and I'm sure you will find yourself in a great deal of danger. But I believe the two of you can overcome any obstacle.
Wait. How do you know it's so dangerous?
The 67-year-old version of you told me what happened. He wasn't able to stop the virus. So I suppose you could say you told me after you failed.
But if old Sigma told you, then why? Well, I guess it's because you don't... What did I say?
That the test facility is full of traps. There was one point, a woman's life was in danger. You risked yourself for her sake, and lost your arms and your right eye.
My arms and my right eye? I guess it makes sense why old Sigma looked that way. What the hell? Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the building. What was that?
Go have a look.
I moved slowly to the window and peered outside. On the horizon, I could see a massive mushroom cloud climbing slowly toward the sky. Would we really be able to change the course of history? No. That was the wrong way to look at it. It couldn't be a question. I had to change history. We could save the world. I'm going to change history. I stared at the darkening sky above us, and steeled myself. I would succeed,